Hello, welcome to another edition of Talking Basketball Podcast. I am Mark.
I am Paul. Hello.
Paul, we've got a guest with us.
Mark, we have got a fantastic guest today.
Does it get any better than
Hey,
this?
it does not get better than this. We are talking to former New York Knick from Columbia University. He has played in Spain, all over Europe, all over the world. And you know what? One of the things I actually love about this guy, I'm going to call him a leader for mindfulness. And he's going to tell us all about that. So let me go straight into the intro right now. Yeah, now, stand and cheer from Columbia University, former New York Knick, at 6'9", forward number 18, Jeff Coby.
Jeff, welcome to the show.
That was like going
amazing.
back to Madison Square Garden, Jeff.
Yeah, it felt like it.
That's it. MSG in UK. Who knew?
Yeah, literally. I love it.
So fantastic! Thank you so much for joining us. You're over here in the UK promoting your book. We'll get to that. And how you? I mean, you've brought the sunny weather from Miami. You said.
Yes, absolutely.
We want to keep the sun. So if you can take some of the rain back with you, that'd be fantastic. We've had enough of that this year. We don't need any more of that.
I hear it.
So Jeff, take us through your life. Take us through your whole basketball journey, because I mean, we're just looking down your credits. It's like, man, that's a story.
So I've honestly had, it's crazy when I think back on it, because, initially I was meant to play soccer. Soccer was my first sport because, when I was a kid, I was extremely overweight, borderline, pretty much obese. And my parents threw me in soccer so I could lose weight. And, obviously you're developing, technical skills, footwork, etc., which also helped me because, after some time I had a bunch of growth spurts. So, as I started growing older, the weight started falling off a bit. My parents threw me into basketball. And, from there, it's just been, I just kind of fell in love with the game. But at first it was very because it's so different from using your feet all the time to now you got to use your hands, get technical with your form, learn all the rules and regulations and whatnot. But, I started off in the little leagues back in South Florida. And, as I grew, I kept playing. And then in middle school, that's when, you play AAU, which is the AAU circuit. That's where I played for the South Florida Panthers, the Florida Rams. And pretty much from there, that's your circuit to kind of get recruited a bit for bigger teams or certain high schools with notoriety, and also for colleges to look at you.
So how do those people, so Jeff, if you go back just to that point, when you're at that age, you've made that, how old are you in that sort of transition from soccer and stuff? Because like you said, you're 6'9" now. At some point you had a few growth spurts and they went.
That was a spurt.
That's a spurt. So at what point was it, okay, maybe you could go to basketball? What sort of age and sort of heights were you talking at then?
I think I got to basketball around 9, 10 years old.
Okay.
More or less.
Oh, fantastic.
And, yeah, that's when I made that transition.
So that's a nice age, because then you've obviously got the big spurts coming up then, and that'll suddenly lift you up.
Yeah, of course. And then you feel it in your knees, everything.
So when you said you went into the AAU and that sort of thing, how did you get into that level? Because obviously just getting into that level is not easy.
Yeah. Oh, of course. So, as I started, I played for a number of AAU teams to start. The first one that I played for was the Panthers, and we pretty much were just trying to compete, just compete in middle school, and then you transition to your middle school team. And over time, you know, I started to build a little bit of confidence, but my confidence was a little shaky. You know, I wasn't my eyes didn't light up when it was like a big game. I think that was a product of like lack of skill, and also just like being in my head too much. Over time, I kept working at it, and when did I make that trade? We played against a team where it was just like the high school that I was going to. We ended up playing against that team, and I surprisingly played fairly well. So they started recruiting me. So that it's kind of like one of those things in AAU, like you can, depending on your sponsors, which tournaments you're going to be playing in, all that good stuff, then you can kind of like poach other players and whatnot. So once I was in like freshman year of high school, I got approached by this other team, and it was like kind of night and day, because I was playing at a public school where there's, I don't want to say limited resources, but there's just so many kids, and a handful of resources to service those student athletes or the students. So I made that transition to the other team, and they started recruiting me to their high school. And over there, it was just like, it's like a basketball oasis in terms of like, it was a private school, but the resources, the gym, the guidance counselors, the amount of coaches ready to work out with you, whether if you want to work out before or after school, like you just had so many resources that, set you up to get a scholarship or become a college athlete.
That's all there available for you to just say, look, I need help with my shot. I'll come in the morning, and they're just like, yeah, sure, no worries, I'll be there.
Yeah.
And this
amazing.
is high school level we're talking.
High school.
Yeah.
But also the on the flip side, because they pour so much into there is slightly an expectation. But like, it's crazy because like there would be practices where we'd have like the top 10 coaches in the whole NCAA just sitting in our stands watching the practice.
I mean that's
no pressure then.
No pressure.
Yeah.
No pressure.
You've got that hindsight, and obviously you went through that. And obviously with your journey with in the mindful aspect, looking at that now, just bringing that in.
Yeah, great question.
Do you look at that and think that was a positive experience to have that type of pressure at that point? Do you think that is something that is good?
I think it was a positive. I think it was definitely a positive thing to have, because it really like made you like, all it really takes is one good impression, one good practice, one good game if they happen to be at the game, but then you're on their radar, and the same thing is applied in the professional level, because that's just what it is. That's just the name of the game. If you can perform while the lights are on, while people are just in there simply watching, because you never know who's actually watching, but it's always good to give the game that integrity that it deserves. So it definitely helped prime me. And you know how it is in competition, like certain things, like say you have that girlfriend who's at the game, you want to play a bit better. It's just like that naturally brought up the competition within the team. So you're just getting the best out of you. You're fully immersed in the moment. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like you get to completely dive in to the game and, just pretty much leave it all out on the court.
Jeff, in those situations as well, because this is one of the things that I think a lot of players talk about, where you're under pressure, you've got 10 scouts there all to play, and then people play differently in those scenarios where there's like, I've got the ball, you're not getting it back, as far like as a teammate and stuff like that. Is that anything that you've experienced before?
See, the thing with my high school is we had such good chemistry. And yeah, we're pretty lucky in that regard because it was a smaller school, so we just hung out all the time. Our chemistry was just like we knew each other in and out. So I definitely can see that aspect because I've been to a summer league before where, you know, people are going to dribble the air out of the ball, and that's just terrible. It's a terrible brand of basketball. So I would say I get that point, but in terms of what I went through, we just had we were just so solid and we just loved to compete because we would just get better. We knew that was our best chance of winning a championship, and if we win a championship, then everyone wins. So.
Yeah, I actually love the wording Jeff used there, a terrible brand for basketball.
Yeah.
That's a great way a great phrase for it. Can I also just say, and I can see it in Jeff, I also see it in Steve Ware, who was on our show before talking about mindfulness. When you meet and talk to, I'm going to say, leaders around the world for mindlessness, like Steve, like Jeff, they have just got this glow about them, haven't they? Where they're just so positive and one with the world or something, and it's just I'll say probably infectious is probably the word I'd use.
Assured composure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
assured composure.
It's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, Jeff, you look really happy. You look really, happy, focused, and positive, and definitely with people who really practice, and definitely the leaders, that they all have that trait.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, I appreciate it. Definitely. It helps so much. It really does. That was the main premise of the book on why I wrote it. It's just because I was so shocked, utter disbelief on how powerful this practice is.
And do you feel that obviously it came at the right time for you when you found it? I believe it's a Wall Street Journal that you saw an article about it and then got involved. Would you look at it and think, I wish I'd have had that skill set maybe in high school?
1,000%. What? Oh my God. It would have been, if I would have known, oh man, it would have been night and day. Night and day.
Would your career have changed?
Definitely. 100%.
Would you have maybe gone into the basketball in that sense, though, if you flip it that way?
I think, I just think I would have been just a much better player. So It would have made more sense to continue on this trajectory. But yeah, it'd be totally different. Because I look at how I used to play before I started this mindful journey and after, and it's just so different.
Would you think, if you put a player's hat on at that age, if someone had come in and taught you the premises and go through mindfulness, do you think there's a different approach to a player as a sports professional? And then obviously you have someone who's in their late teens with lots of jus de vie for life, we say, and everyone knows everything when they're 18. That's just the way of the world, isn't it? So is there a different, when you've got someone who's a teenager and a trying to, sports professional, that's where they want to go. That's a very specific mindset, isn't it?
I think the saying is, you can't put a wise head on young shoulders. Do you guys have that saying in America?
I like it though. I like that.
You can have that. I
like that. You can't put a wise head on young shoulders.
But yeah.
Well, I think that's good. Well, because the reason why I found it is because I was going through a tough time, and my parents were just work harder, and just a quintessential type of advice whenever you're going through something. But if I was younger, I think it definitely would have helped because I had struggled with consistency, and mindfulness helped me so much with that, because it was always a good feeling when I'd go look at my planner and I'd check off meditation.
Well, your book, A Mindful Journey, it looks great.
Thank you.
How long did that take to write?
Overall, 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Because I had just been journaling so much.
okay, so that's why you were just taking it and journaling it down, and then at one point you thought, there's a book here. I've got to frame it. And
so I was just going around asking for help, pointers, XYZ. And one of my good friends, his mother is a best-selling author. So she gave me her book agent to kind of guide me throughout the whole process.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
And what does that feel like, opening that up and seeing the book?
Every time I see it, I smile a bit inside. It's just like, from where you have a bunch of pages stacked up, a bunch of entries, and late nights, and whenever I couldn't sleep, I'll just be writing away, and it's beautiful.
Is it like in the movies where you get a box come through and you open it up and there's your like 10 copies of your book?
Oh yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
That's just not real,
You're
is
like,
it?
number one, yep, I'm having that one.
Sign that one down. Yeah,
Your
absolutely.
copies. Yep.
Oh, that's cool, man. So listen, we're skipping ahead here.
Yeah, that was my fault.
No, it's good. You go to Columbia. So
Yes.
you go from high school. How would you go from high school to Columbia? Take us through that.
Okay, so I talk about it extensively in the book.
Okay, so no spoilers then. You gotta go get Jeff's book if you want the full story.
Yeah. So I'll give you the condensed version. So in America, we have the standardized tests. One is the SAT and the ACT. So pretty much for admissions, you need a standardized test, and then you need your GPA to be a certain number. I always had a high GPA, but my standardized test scores were shaky. So I took the test a bunch of times. I just couldn't focus on it because at that time, as I got a lot better at basketball, we had won the state championship. I had a bunch of offers. I had like 22 offers for college. We pretty much.
That's nice, isn't it? 22.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I'm not gonna feel sorry for you at all at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But I had been so particular. Like I really wanted to go to Columbia. So I pretty much had to get a higher score. So that was a mission of itself, in which I went on a long journey. Long story short, got the score that I made the transition to Columbia. You can read about it in the book, where you'll find out a lot of entertaining stories.
Oh, well, that you just got to go and get it just based on that. I mean, Columbia is Ivy League and plays in Ivy League, and that is in the UK. We have some Oxford, Cambridge, Durham, Edinburgh. There's a few that are again in that same kind of tier. Amongst universities, they're looked at as more prestigious academically.
Yeah.
So here's my question to you: Columbia academically, very prestigious.
Yes.
Basketball wise, they're good, but they're not in the Duke, for example, South Carolina. They don't need. I'm just picking on ones that a lot of people might know, for example.
Yeah. So that's what you would call high major. We were a mid major.
So once you're not challenging it, is it where you have the opportunity of saying, I'm going to go a basketball focused route, I'm going to go more of academia route that's still got strong basketball? If you've got 22 offers out, that must be challenging. Because some of them might have been, this is actually going to be, I'll be playing with, people in that sort of age range and so forth would be like the likes of, I don't know, Jason Tatum and stuff, but I don't think he went to college. But
yeah.
So how do you make those decisions?
So to me, I had two schools in mind that I really wanted to go to. It was University of Florida and University of Southern California. And, when the scouts were at the game for UF, I don't know if they just didn't like my game, what the case may be. I never really grasped their interest. So, to me, it was like, if I'm not going to go high major, the next best bet is the Ivy League, which is, extremely good academics, notoriety, alumni network. and then also you're still playing Division 1.
Yeah. And that's like Princeton, Yale. That's all
Harvard,
Cornell, all the big boys. Yeah, Columbia. They're all like very esteemed academically. Just because we obviously have people around the world who listen, and it's, you know, sometimes forget to explain just simple things like a league like that. It's, because I was watching a few of your old games and some of your playbacks, and it's funny when you look at a game and you think that just says Harvard on the floor that you're playing against. It's like, that's kind of weird because we hear about it and you think, I'm playing basketball against Harvard. I don't connect the two. I don't.
Of course, yeah, it is different. It is different, for sure.
And when you're at high school and you get 22 offers for university, at that point, do you think might be able to get in the NBA here? At what point are you thinking that?
I didn't think it until college.
Okay.
But in high school, it was definitely a dream, but I didn't think it until I was in college. And yeah, it was just, it kind of like, once I saw, like, because when you're in college, people have their internships, and all of that good stuff. And it wasn't until my senior year, like my last year was just so distasteful. And I was like, I can't just say, you know, I can't just stop this and then go work in an office right now. Like, it doesn't sit right. Like, although you're getting approached by, you know, the recruiters, all the alumni events left and right, it just wasn't, it didn't feel right with me. So, you know, I developed this sense of delusion where, you know, people would be like, oh, what are you doing after college? And, you know, because that's like a common theme in an Ivy League school. What are you doing after college? Where are you interning? XYZ. And, you know, I would just tell people, I'm going to be a pro. I'm going to the league. Like, and they would look at me like, huh? What? Like, are you crazy? And then, you know, I just kept standing on it. I just kept affirming it. And lo and behold.
You know, you got to believe in yourself.
You have to.
For those
you have
dreams
to be and also, I'll be honest,
reality.
Jeff, if you're 6'9", sitting in a cubicle working, that's going to look a bit weird. It's like, does Jeff play basketball? No.
Imagine
he
Jeff
decided to go sit at a desk. You're like, that is a waste. Everyone who's 6'2", or any one of us who is below that height is like, you're not playing. It's disgraceful.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So yeah.
Sorry, Mark. Can I just go? Can I just go back to high school?
Yeah.
Jeff, what is it like? And only, you know, a handful of people in America can say this, but you represented, you know, the US in Russia.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what a feeling that must be. Like, I guess one, representing your country, but then two, what's it like going to Russia?
Oh, it was so cool. Like, it was just such it was a culture shock because I was like this innocent kid, like, and I'm walking around and I see, like, you know, kids on the side of the street, like drinking vodka and stuff. Like, I was like scratching like, what's going on? But outside of that, it was beautiful. Like, we went to the Kremlin, St. Petersburg, you know, we were fed well. There was just a lot of, like, we saw all the national teams for the basketball, from like the top of the top, like the professionals, to like the under 17, 16s, which was amazing. It was such a eye-opening experience because it's like, we're so used to this American brand of basketball, and then like we have to do a mini camp and, you know, get to know each other and then go integrate, mix and match, and play against and with the, you know, the Russian national teams. So it was an awesome experience.
And what's it like when you put that jersey on for the first time?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's like, wow.
And so
that's got to be a pinch yourself moment. You're walking out, play Russia, you got a US jersey on, and it's like, man, well, I'm still in high school. This is amazing.
So I love I won't say not the twist in that, but then jump forward somewhat into your career, and then you get to put a Haitian jersey on.
Yeah,
and with your family from Haiti.
Yeah,
and having that background.
Yeah,
you've represented USA.
Yeah,
and you've represented Haiti.
Yeah,
that's cool. That is really cool.
It was so beautiful. So much support. Everyone was just like right behind us. It was great.
What's the basketball, like the community and like in Haiti and around the area, around the surrounding, should we say?
Yeah, it's still developing. It's very underdeveloped at the moment. But for the time being, we're trying to, there's a few foundations. I think it's called the FHB. Yeah, FHB. We're trying to, build it up. And I think now they're focused more on the youth so that they can, build up some of the players, get them some scholarships, bring some more awareness towards basketball, because it's, there's some very athletic Haitians. There's a fair amount of Haitians in the NBA currently right now.
Yeah.
And it definitely needs some work, but there are people working, so that's the most important part.
Oh, that is so good though, because that was in was it 2018 FIBA tournament, I believe?
Yes.
So good. And I want to say the style of play going back to when you're in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a particular style of play back then, or was it very much what you were doing at the time? You just played at a national level.
At that time, I don't remember specifically, but I remember the training, because I came back home and I was like, they were doing so many like different type of drills and stuff like that. Like, or if the ball was going out of bounds and somebody ran to go grab it, then another player would run a certain direction so that they could just throw it to him. Oh. A lot of things that you would just never think about. But yeah, it was eye-opening for sure.
Because it's a different, let's say, not a step up. It's not just a step up, but it's also a sideways step, like you say. When people they're playing in a team, as you mentioned, you had a team at your high school, you all clicked.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going, you're going to go play with other peers.
Yeah.
And you think, I'm used to someone dishing. I know in that youth, if I make this cut, I know they're going to see me cut.
Of course.
Just learning to do that at that sort of time, but you want to play at your best level.
Oh, always.
Tricky.
Definitely.
So, Columbia was NCAA?
Yes.
And how did that go? How was your journey in brief, but in Columbia? How did you, in terms of the tournaments?
I would say it was eye-opening. It was tough. It was challenging. It brought a lot of joy, and it was just one of those things where I was just so happy to be there, because I went through my fair share of trials and tribulations just to get. There's a running joke at Columbia. They say the hardest part about Columbia is simply getting in. So getting in is the hard part. But once you get in, you're in. So, my freshman year, it was interesting getting acclimated and whatnot. We had a fair amount. We had an older team, and we just had a lot of firepower. So we bought into the system that our coach was preaching about. And then my sophomore year, freshman year we did pretty well. Sophomore year, we had a bit of a fall off due to injury, but I got to play more, which helped me get more confidence, more developed, and just understand the game a bit more on the college level. My junior year is where, we were just clicking. We had, a bunch of pros. One of my teammates now, he was playing for Bayern Munich, Alba Berlin, and now I think he's playing in Milan. We've had a fair amount of overseas pros come out of like my 4-year time there.
But you're managing the academic side of that as well, because obviously we've mentioned this is our Ivy League school, so this is the academic side of things, there is.
Mark, you want to hear something crazy?
Oh yeah, always.
Absolutely crazy. So my teammate, it was his senior year. I come home from the library at like midnight, more or less, and the season was over. I get back home from I get back home from the library around midnight. My teammate has a workout with the Philadelphia 76ers the next morning. And guess what? And I come back to the house and he's up doing homework.
No.
I can't make this up.
No.
I can't make this up. And I'm just like, bro, what are you doing? And he's like, bro, I have to finish this, man. Like, this professor is just tough. And it's so crazy because, like, on one side, there's professors who they'll work with you, but within reason. And then there's, on the other side, it's that persona that they want to keep, that, we're one of the hardest institutions in the world. So, there's no, like, the dates are the dates. Like, we're just going to make it what it is. And if it's too hard, fail the class or drop it, and it was so wild seeing that.
So,
hang on, Mark, we got to ask, how did he get on at the trial?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, he did well. He got signed. He's just very talented, very hardworking, very disciplined. He went NBA. He went to summer league with them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean, still though, there's a part of me that just thinks
they took him up after 4 hours sleep.
Yeah. That extra hour sleep, that would have helped.
Oh, 100%.
Unless he was in the zone writing, because when you get in that zone, sometimes you're writing something out, and it goes.
For sure.
Talking of players, like
midnight
at college, NCAA, who are some of the players that you've really enjoyed playing against, and who are some of the players that that people would recognize the name? And so who are some of the players that...
Who's the nemesis? Come on, that's what we want to know.
Yeah, who's you thinking, I got to go up against this guy today?
Okay, so the nemesis would definitely be Brandon Sherrod and Justin Sears. Justin Sears actually played in Germany, and Brandon played in Italy for a while. They went to Yale, and they were just a handful to play against. But, great dudes for sure off the court. And I would say throughout the whole time, we played against that stacked Kentucky team with like Devin Booker, Tyler Ulis, Trey Lyles, Karl Anthony Towns.
You played against them?
Yeah. And believe it or not, we were leading going into the half.
No way.
And they were undefeated that whole season until I think it was the Sweet 16. I can't remember. But yeah, but in the second half, it was just like they turned up and their arena was just buzzing. Like you couldn't even hear yourself think.
Wow. Look, we just mentioned arenas. We got to ask the question. In the UK, we look over at the States and we see the NBA crowd and we go, okay, we all know that. We get that. But we look at the crowd in college, and definitely on TV it comes across like they're a lot more up for it than an NBA crowd.
Yeah, because the NBA crowd is like a mix of like showy, it's,
family.
Yeah, family as well. So it's more on the entertainment side, but college is like that. College is going there for that, their team, and they're rooting, die hard, tailgating before, like they're in there rowdy. And then the Greek, not to mention all the Greek life, like they're in there as well. Like,
and is that a big, just adjusting to that, going from say high school, and going into college, is that a big adjustment? Because you're then going into, I want to say arena, but it is like the arena, like the Coliseum almost, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
And it's just suddenly like, in high school, I'd imagine you probably had a few thousand people watching, I guess. And then from there, you're going to these.
A few thousand, more than that.
I don't know.
I reckon that'd be like what, 8, 9, 10,000.
I think my high school, our arena wasn't that big. I think it maybe held 600 to 800.
Yeah.
600 people, maybe 500. But when you go to the state championship, it's a whole arena where the G League team plays. So it's, that gets pretty rowdy. But, college is just a different beast. Like sometimes you're in arenas with like 25,000 people,
That's what I mean. That step up is gigantic, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
Imagine having your mindfulness going back to those moments where you're like, okay.
The only time you need that mindfulness is when you get fouled and you go, I've got to do free throws now.
Oh, yeah. Take a deep breath.
Deep breath is like, can I just have a quick meditation to myself? I mean,
literally.
That's maybe what Giannis does. That's why Giannis takes so long with his free throws. He's actually having a subconscious, little meditative moment.
Definitely.
Does your, with your mindfulness, actually in the game, would you use that for like as an example, what Mark said, for taking a free throw?
Well, as a professional now, I go into the game with my game plan. So, just to help me stay on that consistent, just to pretty much stay. Hold on, let me rephrase that. So when now as a professional, when I go into the game, I go in with, a game plan in which I keep in the back of my mind. And I also, I'm very cognizant of the time and, the numbers that I should be hitting and so on and so forth. So it just helps me break down the game so I don't overwhelm myself. So that's pretty much my portion of mindfulness, is just, being composed in the moment and sticking to the script, sticking to my game plan.
So making it more digestible.
For sure. Because when you break things up, it makes it so much more digestible.
Yeah.
And I guess also as well, after the game, it gives you the ability to, I won't say have a mental shower, so to speak, but you
of course.
You can sort of cleanse yourself of that and just say, that's happened. I don't dwell on it. What do I learn from it? And what can I apply next time? And you can, again, break things down in that sort of manner, as opposed to overthinking,
of course,
anxiety, worry, depression, etc.
And that's what we call growth.
Can you deal with, I'm going to say, frustration from a game after the game now? Like when I play, if something's happened in the game, I'm lying in bed thinking about that. Maybe for 2 weeks I'll be lying in bed thinking, damn, what if I just did that in that one moment?
For sure. For sure. I mean, everybody falls victim to that. But I mean, the more seasoned you get within the sport, I feel like you develop a different relationship in terms of understanding. Sometimes I'll micromanage and think about, how was my preparation? Why did this go that way versus this way? But it's just all part of being passionate about the game. It's inevitable.
So my previous life was in sales and corporate stuff, and being a professional sports person, it's all on the metrics. It's all performance related, and it's all on meritocracy.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, particularly with something like mindfulness, that is very appropriate to people in those segments?
Definitely. I feel like, because it really just helps you get more in tune to yourself and figure out, it's kind of like that bridge in terms of understanding that the present moment is the most important moment. This is where you build for that future that you want tomorrow or later down the line.
I love that. I'm just looking up Jeff's book. I'm trying to buy your book as we're live on the podcast. I found it on Amazon.
Yeah, perfect. It's through there's a UK store.
Through the...
Yeah, we do have Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, that's what I'm on now.
You never know where he goes on the internet. All sorts of places.
It just listen to Jeff. It just already sounds like it's going to be an amazing read.
100%.
And if you can take a snippet of the positivity that is just emanating off Jeff, I'm sure all our listeners can hear. I mean, from that book, that's just going to be a positive thing.
I know this is going to sound really cheesy, but if let's say we were prospective teammates of yours, obviously at my mind-boggling less under 6 foot stature, I would clearly be on the same team as you. But for your teammates, having someone who is very positive and have that kind of, you want to play with someone like that.
It's got to have an impact.
It must have an impact.
It's huge. And you'd be surprised, like even in the NBA, the confident of the confident, like, they go through their lows as well, their highs and lows, like even overseas as well. And, I'm that teammate who will go up to them and be like, yo, like, take a deep breath, like be here, be now, like you're a great player. And I would reinforce their positive skill sets, the things that they're really good at, and tell them to not overthink and trust yourself, because that's what the vast majority of sports is building yourself up. And while you do that, understanding that you have to trust your work which would then translate to confidence on the court. So it's sometimes just a subtle reminder can go a long way.
Jeff, just based on what you're saying, how would you advise someone to stay in the moment? Because, like, for example, my brain is a ping pong table. Yeah. I'm just all over the place. Like,
is this question on behalf of your wife?
No, like I'll go from subject to subject, and sometimes when I'm talking to people, they're struggling to keep up because they're like, where's the connection here? And then even myself, I'm thinking, hang on, something really significant is happening here, whether it's with children or whatever. I should really be present, and I find it generally really difficult sometimes to stay in the present. So what would you advise to someone to say to become present?
I would say learn about the significance of the present moment, because I personally think that, the present moment is the foundation of happiness, and the more you cultivate it, it's just going to grow. And, and when we think about things like anxiety is too much thinking about the past or the future, or whether it's self-induced. Like, there's a number of things, but I'm looking at it more from the lens of thinking about the past, future, and not being in the present moment. So you're technically robbing yourself of, essence of joy, or this essence of work that will lead to, your bigger picture.
I'm robbing myself, Mark. That's a great way of looking at it.
You're robbing yourself.
I'm robbing myself.
That's the conclusion you come to.
I'm robbing myself of joy. Yeah.
Wow.
That's a great way of looking at it. Look, see, this is the thing where I'm ping-ponging. I'm trying to buy Jeff's book as I'm doing a podcast with Jeff.
Well, I mean, so I have a question from our friend Steve, who actually asked about this. And as we're talking about the game, he said...
Steve where?
SteveWareMindfulness.com. Exactly. He said, with a calmer, quieter mind through mindfulness, how does it help in the game? And obviously you answered about breaking it down.
Yeah.
But how do you think it transcends, I won't say not the game, while you're playing it? Because obviously breaking it down, as you said before, and understanding these are my what's that. But when you're in the game, the player you were before that and the player you are after learning and practicing, what's changed with that, with the actual game itself?
So I would say it's kind of like you're with a calmer, quieter mind, you're like opening that door to like the better version of yourself, like, because once you're able to block out the noise, the declutter all of the stuff that's, in your mind, it helps you just be more efficient and kind of flow more, like, not effortlessly, but like you're just, it's easier to get into that flow state to where, like, all right, if I'm coming off of this, ball screen, I know, boom, if I shoot it, it's in. Like, it helped everything. But what I need to do, I need to do it very well. And when you have that instead of, this identity crisis of, somebody trying to do stuff that's out of character, or, just the highs and lows and stuff like that in terms of the emotions, like you can just be at center and just really just enjoy the essence of the game.
There's a clarity to it.
Yes, there we go. Perfect.
I mean, the way you're describing it, all I was thinking of, it's going to sound silly, but it's like in The Matrix with Morpheus.
Yes, I love it.
And then when Keanu's bending over and he's dodging all the bullets, and then after a while he just starts seeing everything in slow motion.
Yeah.
And when Steven said to us about what flow state means, and it means that almost everything just seems that you're one step ahead.
Yes.
And because of that, you can relax in yourself because you know, hey, I know what I'm doing here, and you're confident in it and you're comfortable in it. So then you relax in yourself, and it's sort of everything sort of decompresses, so to speak.
Of course. And it's truly a beautiful thing.
Jeff just said an absolutely amazing quote that someone should quote this.
We'll make a transcript of this,
Coby.
Jeff. You can have your second book done.
Let's do it.
You're knocking out all the lines here. It's fantastic.
I appreciate
You know
it.
what? We should go back on this podcast because he's says some absolute golden nuggets. So, Jeff Coby quote: "Mindfulness is opening a door to better yourself."
Yeah.
What a great line.
Yeah, love that. Easier to get to flow state, I wrote down, because I love that, because it just makes sense to me.
So let's talk about that in a game, because that's quite significant. All the basketball players are listening to this podcast. You'll know exactly what we're talking now. You've played a game. You're not thinking, you're just doing stuff and everything's going for you. And then it was only when someone's turned around to me and went, oh, that's flow. And I was like, what?
Do you know what?
What's that?
I described flow state to someone once, and I think Jeff might appreciate this. It's like when you're on fire in NBA Jam.
Oh my, he's on fire.
That's it. It's like, just get him the ball, because whatever it is, he's got the golden goot. He's got the touch. That's it. Boom, shakalaka. Someone wants to come up and do me. Doesn't matter. I'm going straight through them. That's the moment.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Look, Jeff, we got to ask the question now. Greatest basketball game of all time. Is it NBA Jam? It's got to be up there, hasn't it?
I mean, 100%. Yeah, as a kid, for sure. For sure, it's amazing.
What, you had some of those ones, the Bulls versus Lakers as well. Some of those were kind of
NBA
cool.
Jam was great. I was always the Pistons. It was Lane Beer and Isaiah. They were the two teams that went together.
Battlegrounds good. Was it NBA 2K has always been a few extra buttons for me.
And the commentating for NBA Jam was great.
Oh, it's hilarious.
We do know that
NBA Ballers was fun too.
Jeff's a FIFA man, so we've got to be careful here.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm big FIFA.
Jeff's a FIFA fan. We've got to be careful. He fancies himself as a bit handy at the old football.
Oh, I would have. Back in the day, I would have destroyed you, Jeff. However,
wow! I love the confidence.
Nowadays,
I like that.
My 10-year-old son can beat me
on FIFA, because back in the day, that was ISS Pro.
No, it doesn't matter. Like, I would have in those days, I would have destroyed people. But now I'm like an old lame dad on it. I'm like, what? How's he done that?
You just
5-0 down.
You've made him lean in. The fact that you said you'd destroy him, he went, really? Tell me more about this.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the competitiveness.
Sure.
So that flow state, I was just going to say. So that flow state in the game, like. Is it that you just stop thinking?
It's a mixture of it's just everything is clicking. Like think about, you're playing the game and you're not even really thinking too much. You don't even feel like you're like thinking in a strenuous way. It's just the shots are going in, your movements, you kind of like know where to go. Like you can read things a certain way. It's just, honestly, it's like a high, just being in that state. You're just like, it's almost like euphoric. I think that's a great way to describe it, because you're just executing like at such a seamless level that you're executing at such a high level, but it just feels seamless. Like
no overthinking, the exact amount of effort and the exact amount of thought and the exacting amounts of everything, every movement or every decision is made.
I've got a follow-up question to that. Would a referee ever take you out of that flow state?
There has been
that's a good question.
Yeah, times when that happened, but
depends on the referee.
Yeah, for sure. You got to read the room always.
When they swallowed their whistles.
Get on the good side.
Yeah, when they swallow the whistles and they're not really blowing anything sometimes.
Oh my God, that's the worst.
Did you ever have any calls like that during your time at, say, Columbia? Do you have any moments with referees? Because I'd imagine the refereeing levels in college and uni must be really quite intense, especially with massive crowds like that.
Yeah, I don't think
You played nicely with the refs, did you, Jeff?
Yeah, I always try to, smile and like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Except I think it might have been against UConn. The refs were just terrible, just so bad. Everything, like, you could tell it's like a lopsided, like the officiating of the game is just so crazy. Like when you look at the number of fouls versus ours, you're just like, what? This doesn't make sense.
Jeff, I'm going to throw something out here. What I noticed when I became a referee, and then you go back and play, the referees treat you different. I don't care what they say, they treat you different because you're an official and they know you as an official. It's almost like you get special attention because they're like, I can't get it wrong because he's a referee.
Yeah,
Isn't that
true.
weird?
That's wow.
He also realised how absolutely foul he was to the other refs previously to be. And then, but you've said as well, because you were a player and you're a passionate player. That's fair to say. You like to have a chat with the ref occasionally. When a player does that to you, you'd let that go because you understand they're in that
emotion.
Their emotion,
just and it's like emotion.
Let's let the emotion go because it's bigger. That the game's bigger than just one person being frustrated at a call.
Oh, 100%.
I don't like. I wouldn't explain everything to every play to a player, but when something's happened and they're just like, bam, God, it's like, I've seen refs go on technical foul. Yeah, what was that for?
They're doing a bit of that this last year in the NBA.
They looked at me funny and like, jeez. Yeah, it's like, wow, this is
no need for that.
This is a bit low here, but yeah, it's I think I love to see emotion in players because it means they care.
100%.
Yeah. So look, moving on from Columbia.
What you've made these statements to all your peers. I'm going pro.
Yeah.
You've laid it out there now. What happens?
So I went. It's actually funny because my teammate was dating this girl, and her dad happened to be an agent, a basketball agent.
Handy.
And so we all we inquired, and he pretty much got us sponsored to go to this summer league called the GBSL in Las Vegas. And we had all been training together. I had been prepping, working on my weaknesses, for the most part. And I went to the summer league and I played pretty well. I think the first session, I got an all-tournament team, which you get a write-up for. So that's like, you're pretty much like a standout player. And then the second one, I put up really good stats. I think I made all team again. I'd have to Google it. But after that, my coach was a coach in Pro A in France. I took his number. We talked a lot because after that I was getting, messages from a bunch of agents and from a bunch of teams in Greece. I think another one in somewhere back then they would just message you on Facebook. It's really funny. And I was like, it's really hard to tell, if you're not signed to a big agency and they're gonna, they have all their connections and whatnot. I was going pretty the agency that I signed with, Stanley International, it wasn't like big, but it was good enough. And after a couple weeks, I think maybe like a month or so, August, I got a contract to play in Barcelona. So I looked through it, I asked a bunch of people about it, and then I signed there.
That's cool. I mean, one of the most prestigious clubs in Europe, in the Europa League.
And that's and again, you're now making another change because you're then going into European style basketball.
Yes, which is completely different. A whole 180.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, not everyone looks like York Knick and Luca in Europe. There are actually some athletic players.
What was that transition like for you to come and play in Europe? And also, probably I'd ask about from a crowd perspective, because coming over, you'll know what I'm talking about. You've seen, you would have heard what European crowds are like, which is completely different to NBA. And
for sure, the fans are super passionate. There's they care. They really care. But the transition was different because I felt like there was a lot of technicalities. There was an extensive playbook, and also there's no defensive 3 seconds. So if you get by somebody, there's a huge center just sitting in the middle of the paint. So that didn't help when it was time to score. But it's a lot to get used to.
And do you think that those things? Do you think that there would be better ways to do that if you could advise someone, say someone now who is, say, at Columbia and they're looking at doing the same route? Do you think there are not better ways to do it, but things that they need to practice? For example, in the game, obviously there's going to be loads of challenges going to different places, but just from a game perspective, what do you say?
From a game perspective, I would say just being a student of the game will help tremendously, because understanding, like, there's a lot of similarities and parallels in the game of basketball, especially like when you're comparing from the US to the rest of the world, or you're comparing to other countries. It's really about understanding like the main principles, the types of cuts, the types of picks, DHOs, lobs, defensive styles, just really like having at least an idea, so that if you do find yourself in that position, it's not just completely foreign to you. But other than that, it's a lot of it like requires, especially in Europe, it requires composure. Really being able to like not react and retaliate directly so much, because in America it's like if Paul scores on me, like best believe the next play down, like I'm catching the ball and I'm going right at Paul, like that.
I would pay to see that.
That's a big part.
I would pay for him to dunk on me as well. That'd be amazing.
Right.
Yeah, man. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry, I've got this image of now of you just getting absolutely squashed by him.
That'd be amazing. As long as my teeth are still in at the end of it, it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get you one of those Rip Hamilton Phantom of the Opera jobs.
Oh, my. I actually wore one of those my junior year of high school. Yeah, because we were running suicides like 3 days before my birthday, because we had a game like 3 or 4 days before my birthday. And I touched the line, and then I came back up, and then my teammate's elbow was right here. Ooh. I don't know why we were so close, and I ran right into it and broke my nose. So on my birthday in the game, I had to wear the face mask.
Oh wow! Did you do like the Jaylen Brown where you have the blackout one that looks like Batman?
The Batman one.
It's got like the Batman mask. It's just like, okay, yeah, you went that way.
I definitely had the clear one.
Yeah, Hamilton had the clear one, didn't he? That was
Yeah.
I know Mbappe just broke his nose in the first game. Was it first or second game? And he was talking about putting like a Ninja Turtle one on for the next game.
Yeah,
in the
that's what
European
Jaylen Brown
Championships.
had, like one like that.
But he was going to do like a purple one.
Oh no!
I think
Real Madrid colors.
I think they've gone to him and said, look, like you know, international football, you can't do that. I think it's got to be clear or black, and that's it. But he was like, yeah, I'm going to go in purple. I'm going to be Donatello or Leonardo, whatever one it is.
Hey, come on, mate. Purple's Donatello. Know your turtles. Come on. That's disgraceful. Disgraceful. Not happy with that. But so you went and played. You're playing in Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
How challenging was that?
It was at first. I mean, European basketball. You have 2 a days, siesta. Like it's, and then you play 1 game a week unless you're in the Euro Cup or on a EuroLeague team. So the weeks were they were competitive, but it was also, sometimes it could be a little bit of, a drag because you want to play so much. But I would say, the first couple of games, it wasn't until I, scored my first bucket, then I was like, oh wow, like I'm a pro now. Like that's when it like clicked in. I was like, I'm like, whoa, this is wild. But yeah, it was really, at first it was really good. I was playing a lot. I worked my way up into a starting role. We won a lot during the preseason. We ended up beating FC Barcelona, the huge club in the preseason championship. My dad flew out for that, and that was amazing. It was just, after that, when the regular season was coming, that's when the politics of the game came, and I saw my role just fly out the window from starter, MVP here, MVP there, to like playing 2 to 3 minutes, and it was a crazy rough patch in which completely out of my control, and it led me to meditation, mindfulness, journaling. Oh, wow. This crazy self-development binge that I'm still on. So yeah.
That's where the journey started then.
That's where it started.
I've literally got on my note card, I've literally got Barcelona. I've put ask or don't ask with a question mark on Barcelona, because I understand that's where that was that pivotal change for you, for certainly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, without going into too much detail, you said obviously your role changed fundamentally, and that must be a difficult thing to have to manage, because you go, I've been brought in, I'm 6'9", I'm not a small dude, like you can use me, and you're sick, and you play in the forward role, so you're not like a set. There's teams who have like 6'7" centers, in that whole small ball world. So you've got a lot of usage around the court for then someone to say no, because we've got a specific strategy or a different direction, and you're away from home. You're playing your first year pro. That must be.
Oh, it was. I was heartbroken, when I got the news, because I was like,
wait, hold on. When you got the news, so they like openly told you that?
Yeah, after like a series of torture.
Oh,
literally
brutal.
But it was so. It was December. I went to. It was by Christmas time, because I couldn't go back. I obviously couldn't go back home because we didn't have enough time. So I actually remember flying to London for Christmas, and I met up with one of my friends who's from where I'm from in Miami, and it was just really to like decompress, get away, and I came back, and then that was when the coach pretty much told me, he's like, hey, I just can't play you anymore. I have to play the Spanish player. If I highly suggest you change teams.
Wow.
XYZ. And I was just like, what? Like, what does that even mean? Like, let's Why don't we just go back to the preseason and look at the numbers, or look at my plus and minus. Like, what can I do better? Like, nothing.
That sounds like Bosman, doesn't it?
Just that.
Because Jeff just said that they have to play the Spanish player. And there's a whole thing in Europe and in the UK where you're only allowed so many players from outside of the locality.
But he was still in the team.
That's what I mean. So that's why they've said to him, we suggest you go to a different team because
that's harsh, isn't it? That's harsh.
So brutal.
100%. Yeah, because you've already sacrificed so much to get over there.
You've left your home as well.
Yeah, and then you have the film to show, but it's like when the season starts, that's when you want to say it. It's like,
yeah.
Wow, hold on. So you've got your MVPs, you've got in the team, you've fought your way, you're now you're in the starting five. Your pluses and minuses, all the metrics, everything's been ticking boxes, and they're like,
yes,
basically it's bureaucracy, paperwork.
They won't say that though.
No, of course they won't say that, but
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But at this point, Jeff,
Jeff,
who introduced you to mindfulness then?
I was just wrestling with myself. Like, I'm like, why is this happening? The victim mindset, because you just experience, like, it's my first year pro and we win a preseason championship against one of the most established teams in Europe. Like, I'm on a super high at this moment. Like, I'm like, wow, like, this is going to be amazing. And then next thing you know, it just goes to here. And I'm just like, I'm calling my parents, talking to people. My teammates were like, yo, did you do something to the coach or his family? Like, the way I was being treated in those practices after the preseason was ridiculous. Like, it was crazy. Like, some of my teammates were like, bro, this is not even, this is outrageous. And I stayed strong. I spoke to my parents a lot. My parents were like, just, you got to manage your emotions, stay disciplined, and just keep working hard. So, it took me some time, but then one day I was just so fed up, I was just like, I literally don't know what to do right now. I literally don't know what to do. So I literally went on Google and I wrote in what do successful people do when going through a tough time? Because I liked to think of myself as a success after that preseason. So I wanted some kind of pointer, some guidance, just something outside of my own head. And then that's when I saw that article from the Harvard Business Review and read it, got curious, and was just like, does this actually work? Well, who knows? We're gonna find out.
and I guess 8 years on from that point, anyone else going through that trauma, however you want to phrase it, can now go to your book and get all the information, all the stuff that you went that can help them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You should reach out to the person who wrote that original Harvard article and go, hey, you know what? That was cool. And I've now done this. I bet they'd love that.
Oh, I'm doing that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I just was like, wow. I'm like, I did a shout out to the whole organization. I was like, thank you guys for your work, because if I wouldn't have read that, I have no clue where I'd be right now. Zero.
So you started reading Harvard Business Review. You started going on your journey for mindfulness. What about the basketball? What happened there?
I was choosing between a team in Switzerland and another team in Spain, but in a different division. So, after a couple conversations back and forth for a couple weeks, I chose the other team in Spain. And that's where it was just pure self-development. And, I switched to a paleo pescatarian diet, minimal sugar, with an exception of, some tarta de abuela and, all the other good treats in coffee. I went on this binge. Like you will definitely read about it in the book, but long story short, and just to, you know, condense it a bit, I tracked everything. I was like, and I'm not like OCD, but at that moment I was OCD because I felt like I had something to prove. So I literally tracked my stats every week. I'm in tune with that. I'm looking at my sleep, my eating, everything, like meditation, journaling, and, you know, just doing things that just brought me joy. So the basketball was good.
And that's at Cambados. Yeah.
Yeah, Cambados, yep.
So you started, I want to say, laying those foundations that obviously you benefit from today. And that's where that came from. And then you made some other moves.
Yep. So after that, you know, we finished out the season. It was good. I went to my national team. We went overseas. We played in the pre-Olympic qualifier. And we went undefeated. We had 2 NBA coaches within the NBA/G League. And that was just a great overall experience. After that, I got interest from a team in the first league of Denmark, but, you know, it's so hard not to give away the whole book. But let's just say a product of my meditation made me pivot into the unknown, the outside of my comfort zone. And that was the ultimate motivator into me getting into the NBA.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode. That is the end of this part. But do not worry, because coming soon is the second part of this episode, and it will be available soon.